So that's the Michigan Wolverines. We move on to a team that I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. 7 straight losing seasons, and Matt Rule is trying to break that trend this year. Marcus Satterfield at OC, Tony White at DC. Marcus Satterfield is an interesting coordinator. If you followed him, the offense that they are planning to run is not typically what he is generally run as an OC. Like they're trying to be RPO, spread, high tempo, being aggressive. They've got a young quarterback, which is good. I would argue being aggressive is a good thing here, and having confidence and being okay with the quarterback making some mistakes. He can't make as many as the quarterbacks did last year. I feel like that's virtually impossible. We'll talk about that here in a second. But, a 50-yard bomb interception punt is better than just going out, I think, is better than just going 3 out and punting the ball every time. So being aggressive here, being up tempo, letting athletes be athletes in space is sort of the offense we've been promised here. It looked really good in the spring game. Like that is what it looked like. So I think as a Nebraska fan, you got to be hopeful. I think as a Nebraska fan, you really got to be hopeful because even if not much changes from last year, the simple fact that your quarterback position, even though Dylan Raiola is a freshman, is just a better talent right off the bat. Nebraska lost 4 games last season by 3 points each. In those games total, they had 15 turnovers. Through the season, 81% of Nebraska's turnovers came from the quarterback position. Like that number is going to fall this year. Even if you cut that by a third, that's going to be a lot better. Dylan Raiola is not going to turn over the football. I am pretty confident in that, as much as Jess Sims and that whole offense did last season. The other part to this too is like you have Glenn Thomas, who was with Matt Rule at Baylor, does a really good job with the quarterback position. He's helping out here on the offensive side of the football. Matt Rule feels pretty confident that they're ahead of schedule, and it's not hard to see why. The injury bug is going to be the thing to concern of, and we're going to get into it with the offensive line, but I have in multiple position groups on my notes, like just got to hope for better injury luck, and they've already had a massive injury to the offensive line. But running back room, they're going to sort it out in camp. Gabe Irving is back, but health is a concern, obviously, with him. Johnson has popped here and there, but he sort of lacks the consistency. They're talking a lot about this Johnson kid, Emmett Johnson, as like a surprise back this year. Somebody in this room has to be able to be kind of a big play back. Like none of these guys they've been good, very solid. If you have a running back by committee from them, they're not going to be bad. But can one of these guys turn small plays into medium plays into big plays? Can they break the tackle or make the move so that instead of a 5-yard run, you got a 10 to 15-yard run, break off a run here and there? Like one of these guys has to do that, be able to do that, I think. I don't know who it's going to be. Like they're going to sort it out in camp. Consistency and health are the concern in that room. Wide receiver, though, you're looking pretty good. Jamal Banks transfers in, leading receiver at Wake. Jalen Lloyd had a nice freshman season, looked good in the spring. Thomas at tight end is a really nice piece for them. Wide receiver, tight end room, I feel pretty good about. Like it's a solid grouping there. And then you look at this offensive line, and the note I literally have in bold is gotta hope for better injury health. And right off the bat, Teddy, left tackle, who had been getting better year after year, is now out with a season-ending injury in camp. So that is definitely a blow. But you've got Ben Scott back at center. You got Bryce Benhart back at right tackle, who's their best graded offensive lineman at Nebraska last season. So he's back, and that's huge. You got the Mazuka kid, who's got solid experience. You just got to hope for no more injuries on the offensive line. Like that's really the key here is can that group stay healthy? Because you've already sustained an injury at the left tackle spot. That certainly hurts. Can the rest of this group stay healthy? If they can, I think you're optimistic about this group, and you're optimistic that this team is going to elevate the floor from last season. Now, how that ceiling is going to depend on how fast Dylan Raiola can get caught up to speed, what his freshman kind of potholes look like, because he's going to have a couple here and there. What point in the game do those come up? What part of the season do those come up? And how quick can he get adjusted? But the talent profile is lifted from last season. And so many games turnovers absolutely had an effect. So if that number comes down and the talent profile has risen, there's good reason to be very optimistic about this Nebraska football team on the offensive side of the football. Defensively, I don't know how you're not excited about this team. There is one part that you're a little worried about, and we'll talk about it here, but this is a defense finished 11th. They were 11th best in the country last year, top 10 in rush defense, yards per play and TDs in the red zone were very solid. Both in the top 10. So you have the defensive line. Nash the Polar Bear is back. That's his nickname, the Polar Bear. I mean, just an absolute. They have two man eaters inside between Nash and Ty Robinson. Both guys are 6'4" and above, both 300 pounds. Like they got the beef inside. The question is who can come off the edge. My guess is it's going to be Butler that pops. Lionheart has been nice in a smaller sample size. Let's see what he can do when his kind of plate gets a little bit bigger here. You get a lot of experience in the linebacker room between Wright, who's a redshirt senior, Bullock, who's a redshirt senior, and MJ Sherman, who's a true freshman or true senior. Sorry, true senior. Goodness gracious. So you got three seniors, experience level guys in the linebacker room, all know where to be on the football field, all understand their assignments. It's hard generally for them to get out of assignment. So you feel good about that. The secondary is the concern because you saw it last year. They kind of get lost in space when there is a talent advantage. Colorado was a good example of that. Like once Colorado's athletes got out into space, things started to tear apart at the seams for the Nebraska defense because the secondary wasn't able to kind of hold up. Once again, the Colorado game is going to be the test. Like we'll know if there's a problem in the secondary or have they risen their floor as well based on that Colorado game because Colorado's got a lot of athletes. The passing game should be efficient. Like they got to block the big boys up front. Colorado, everything in front of the secondary is good, and so I think that's where your hope is. Like if pressure's getting home, that's going to help your secondary. You know, Tommy Hill is good in coverage. Gifford plays, kind of the rover role, will be the big kind of role player in this secondary. He'll be very important for their success. But week 2 comes around. We're going to have a very good idea about what this Nebraska team's floor is when they play Colorado. I really like Nebraska this season. Like I have them in my top 25 coming into the season. I think they're going to finish the season in the top 25, right around there. Going to go bowling. This is going to be where you start to see things turn around for Nebraska this season. Matt Rule is going to be a little bit ahead of schedule. Like I really like what they're bringing to the table. You just have to hope for injury health. Like better injury luck is what Nebraska needs this season. But I really like this Nebraska team.